Dana just came out and said that he really likes Michael Chandler vs. Conor McGregor when TMZ Sports asked about Conor to fight Jorge. He said instead, Chandler vs. Conor is the fight that he likes. And it's interesting because whenever Dana was asked a question about Conor, he always says we gotta wait and see if he's ever going to come back, how his recovery's gonna go and all that stuff. If my memory serves correct, this is the first time where he didn't even bring that up. He just flat out said that he likes Chandler vs. Conor, which I hope means that Conor is on the right track to make a return. And boy, I would love to see it, man. Chandler vs. Conor is an insane fight. And not only does he like it, Michael Chandler likes it as well. Called out Conor McGregor in front of a wide audience after a big knockout against Tony Ferguson. And even Conor McGregor responded saying that one day he would like to fight Michael Chandler. Well, that day is not far away. Michael Chandler versus Conor McGregor may be the next fight for both fighters. Depending when Conor is able to return, because he did say about his leg that he still can't kick 100% with it. So there is a possibility that Chandler fights someone else in the meantime. The topic about Conor fighting Jorge Masvidal wasn't really entertained too much, even though Conor has gotten much bigger. I mean, the guy is huge these days. I can only imagine he would lose weight to go into a fight because you don't want to carry that much extra weight. But even if he does, Chandler's a big guy. He's bigger than Conor. Even as Conor is today, Chandler's still bigger than him. And they're the same height, not far away from their age. They're from the same era. Chandler's the number 5 contender, Conor's the number 8. And with them and the UFC liking this fight, we may get a pay-per-view main event between Conor and Chandler. Now, I do have some people saying that this fight is between two guys that are past their primes, but that's not the case. I don't think that's fair to say. I don't know if you could say Chandler is past his prime at all. I mean, he's putting on the best performances of his career. And when it comes to his speed, which is the first thing that goes away of an aging fighter, that's still there. He's still fast. He's still powerful. He still has a similar chin. Gaethje couldn't even put this guy down. His skill is up there as well. He's a lot more efficient than he ever was before. So actually, I would say that Chandler, even though his age is up there, he's better than he's ever been. It's not just age that tells you if you're in your prime or not. It could tell if you're in your physical prime, but not when it comes to your fighting ability. I mean, look at Glover Teixeira. He's the champion right now. Look at Michael Bisping. He hit his prime later in his career. Look at Stipe Miocic. So I don't think Chandler's out of his prime. I think he's in his prime right now. And as for Conor, Conor could be seen as if he's out of his prime because he's losing fights. But just because you're losing fights does not mean you're out of your prime all of a sudden. I mean, look who he's losing to. Dustin Poirier and Khabib. Two of the greatest lightweights of all time. How could he not lose? And he put up a better fight against Khabib than most other fighters have. I don't think it's fair to say that Conor is out of his prime because he hasn't won in a few years, considering who he's been fighting. They gave him a step down in competition against Donald Cerrone, and he ran through that guy in less than a minute. I think he got stagnant, and the sport passed him up because of how much time he took away from the sport. When you look at Conor compete, he's fighting similarly to how he's always fought. So the answer isn't always that these guys are out of their prime. It's much more than that. When you're out of your prime, it's not that, oh, you're not able to win fights all of a sudden. That could just be that you're fighting better competition. That could be you took too much time out of the sport. And you never changed. The sport changed though. So I don't really buy that these two guys are out of their prime. If Conor is very slightly. It's not like some major change that he's not the same guy anymore. And the reason why I like this fight is because both fighters have a real chance of winning here. Even though Chandler is going to obviously be the favorite, given what he's been doing in his career, he's at least been winning fights, he's putting on good performances, even in the losses, he's competing very well with the best guys in the world. But stylistically, Conor can absolutely land that left hand on Chandler. For sure, Chandler can be pretty reckless. He chases the knockout so much, he leaves his chin up in the air, doesn't really bring his hands up, and Conor with his footwork should be able to backstep away from Chandler's big right hand that he throws at everybody, even from a distance, and counter Chandler with his left. In fact, it could be very similar to the way he countered Eddie Alvarez, who a lot of people draw comparisons to. Chandler and Eddie, although they're not the same fighter at all, they do have similar tendencies, and they're very similar in stature. So Conor's precision with that left hand is always going to be alive and give him a major chance of beating someone like Michael Chandler. Out of everybody in the top 5, Chandler is one of the most winnable fights for Conor. More winnable than the Dustin fight, the Gaethje fight, the Beneil fight, the Islam fight, and maybe the Oliveira fight. Oliveira is another opponent that is a winnable fight for Conor for sure, but the fact that Dana didn't even bring that fight up means that they're probably not looking at it right now, and it makes sense, I guess. I mean, they want to give Conor, who's coming off so many losses, a title shot. But the other way around, Chandler has many more paths to victory here. Number one, he can knock Conor out. If he lands that right hand, it's probably over. The leg kicks can cause a lot of damage, but the fact that they're both opposite stances makes it easier for Conor to check. But Chandler is athletic, so maybe he can train to fight as a southpaw in order to land leg kicks. That can very well be the case. But that's not the biggest issue for Conor. Conor is overall the more skilled striker, and Chandler could be very obvious in what he's trying to do. And historically, Conor does better on the feet against orthodox fighters than he does against southpaw, because of his amazing ability to take his head off the center line from a right straight from his opponent, which is Chandler's biggest weapon, and counter them with the left hand. But that's not the biggest issue for Conor. The biggest issue is the wrestling. If Chandler fights this one smart, he should be able to take Conor down for sure. I don't see Conor defending a blast double from this guy. He gets on the ground and shows his superior grappling skill. I believe Chandler is more technical on the ground. He's more powerful on the ground. He's faster on the ground. But he can be caught up in the guard, which Conor is actually pretty good at keeping. Conor is good at keeping opponents in his guard, and perhaps Chandler might find it difficult to land shots on Conor, but it doesn't matter at the end of the day. Chandler has shown historically that his cardio is able to keep up in the later rounds the more he grapples with you instead of strikes with you. Chandler gasses out more when he's striking. So if he has a grappling heavy approach, he's going to be able to go into the later rounds with that. Maybe not be fresh in the later rounds, but Conor won't be either. So it's not really that much of a concern for him. And that's ultimately the way he should be able to win the fight. If he doesn't wrestle, if he tries to put on a show for the fans and just go to war with Conor, trying to knock him out on the feet and build up a name, it's a very risky way to fight. But if he's able to pull it off that way and KO Conor unconscious in front of millions of fans, because of the way he looks, because of the way he speaks, because of the way he fights, Michael Chandler could become a superstar overnight. So the reward of taking that risk actually is something that Chandler might want to pursue, but it's a bigger way for him to lose the fight as well. To raise his chances of winning this, he would have to go to the wrestling. So at the end of the day, I would love to see this fight. It makes a lot of sense. It seems like everybody wants to fight, from the brass to the fighters to the fans. Why not put it together? And leave in the comments below, what do you guys think? Are you up for this fight? Do you see Conor winning this somehow, or is Chandler just going to be too much? Make sure to leave that in the comments below, and I'll see you guys in the next video.